Welcome to another edition of ECAC Hockey Decision Makers. We're flipping the seats around today. I'm Associate Commissioner Nick Sczerbinski, and I'll be interviewing our normal interviewer, Pierre McGuire. Pierre, thanks for joining us today.
Great to see you, Nick. Thrilled to be with you.
Should be fun. I was thinking about this interview earlier, and I thought, as one of the, in my opinion, the best hockey interviewers there is, I feel like we're taking off the number one defenseman on our power play and replacing him with the backup goalie today, but I think we'll make it work.
No, you're outstanding at your job, and I'm grateful to do this with you, Nick. Thank you so much. So,
Pierre, tell us where you're coming from.
Right now, I'm in Belfast, Northern Ireland, getting ready to call the first two games of the Friendship 4 Union College. Is a great representative of the alma mater of our commissioner, Doug Christensen, and really excited. I know you're a Quinnipiac man, and Quinnipiac's come over here and won before, which is really cool. So I'm here to help broadcast. I'm here to help grow the games. I'm looking forward to coming back with you, I hope, at the end of December for the women's tournament. We'll see about that. But I think the biggest thing is just being part of this whole. We were here last year, my partner and I, Jimmy Murphy, and it's been really phenomenal. It's been outstanding. The teams have been here since Monday, and you can just see the energy percolating around the building right now. It's a ton of fun to watch.
And before we dive into the whole tournament and that whole experience, I know this is the fourth country you've done these interviews from this year, between Canada, the United States, Dublin or in a couple of weeks. We have one that we already aired and recorded in Dublin and now in Belfast. And talk a little bit about the building you're in. You told me some good stories about that.
This is the old jail, and believe it or not, Belfast. It's right across the street from the old courthouse in Belfast, and it's housed a lot of political prisoners and other types of prisoners, both male and female. They showed me where they used to do the hangings here, which is now it's become a whiskey distiller. And McConnell's proudly took ownership of this facility, and they make world-class whiskeys from here. And I just had a tour of the entire process of how they do it. Good thing I didn't have any before I came on the air with you. But it's a phenomenal experience. They've been so gracious here at McConnell's, and we're really grateful for the time they've spent with us so far.
Awesome. Well, we'll save the whiskey for later, but diving back into the hockey, what makes this tournament so important for college hockey and for the sport of hockey overall?
It's the only tournament that's played outside of North America. That's number one. Number two, they use hockey as a vehicle here, Nick, to help with what they called for years and years and years, the troubles. And the troubles are slowly but surely going away. They'll never be, I think, completely eviscerated, but they are slowly but surely going away. And the people that run the tournament, the Belfast Giants, Robert Fitzpatrick and his team, they use hockey as a vehicle to bring people together. And that's exactly what these teams do whenever they come here. They use hockey as a vehicle to make everything better.
And the hockey, obviously, as we've seen over the years in that tournament, has been really good, really high quality. For us hockey fans who have not made the trip over yet, it's Thanksgiving week, right? There's so many reasons not to, but what are the reasons for a fan to really just say, let's take this jump, let's go for the week and let's enjoy it?
Extraordinary history. You land in Dublin, and then you see the Jameson distillery, you see the Guinness plant, you go around downtown Belfast, you walk through Trinity College, you see all these amazing things, and you're doing it as a hockey family. And then obviously you take you to the train or the bus up here. It's about 2 hours and 20 minutes up to Belfast, and you experience so much culture and so much history, and you learn so much. And one of the big things is you learn about the Titanic. You may have seen the movie, but you learn so much about the Titanic. This was its last place that people boarded the ship before it went down, obviously hitting an iceberg. So there's a lot here. And I just think the biggest thing is the passion of the fan base. You'll see a sold-out building both Friday and Saturday, Nick, which I think is phenomenal.
And on the ECAC side, obviously, you mentioned Union being there this year, and they've been on quite a run to start the season. They're ranked in the top 20 nationally. A place where Union has wanted to be in the last couple of years, and Josh Hauge has done an incredible job. I know you've gotten, familiar with that program. What do you expect from them this week, and what have you liked from them this year?
I just like how consistent their play has been. They play more of a big body, robust style of game, which I think is really important. They've moved into a new arena, which I think has been great for the program, great for them, and awesome for the league. It's really brought back that RPI Union rivalry, which I think is so good. And understate it, is a rivalry they have obviously with Colgate and Cornell as well. They're coming off a 2-1 loss at Cornell the other night on Friday night, but they played really well against a tremendous Cornell team. I like how physical and intense they are. The previous weekend, beating 2 Hockey East teams pretty substantially, Nick, was really impressive, beating UMass Lowell and obviously UNH as well. So I got a lot of time and respect for what Coach Howgie has done there. Biggest thing is those kids play hard for him, and that makes them a real tough out. I expect going into this, they're probably the favorite to win the tournament. We'll see how it plays out.
And moving away from the tournament a little bit, going into the ECAC overall, obviously in college hockey overall, it's been a strange year, right? Teams winning, teams losing, not really who you expected. But in the ECAC, now 5 teams ranked in the national polls. Seems like the Ivies from COVID stages to now have gotten themselves back to where they want to be and have grown. Where is the ECAC right now in your mind, and what does this year look like if everything continues to build?
They're as competitive as any team or any league, I should say, in college hockey. And Nick, I think a big reason why the fifth-year students are gone, the COVID situation has cleared itself up, and I think the biggest thing, how aggressive the ECAC teams have been, and they're not losing as many players to obviously, the portal. And I think actually teams like Clarkson have utilized the portal really well. Clarkson's utilized the portal really well. So where it used to be teams or players were defecting from the ECAC, I think players are actually coming back into the ECAC. And I just love the robust style of play in the ECAC. I think that makes it really tough for any league in the country to have to play against the physical test that an ECAC team presents all the time. Whether you're playing down in Princeton at Hobie Baker, or whether you're playing up north at St. Lawrence at Appleton, or you're playing in Troy at Houston Fieldhouse. They're all amazingly difficult places to play. And I think that's one of the things that gives our teams a bit of an edge when they can get teams from other conferences to come in and have to play them.
And obviously you have, excuse me, an ECAC history yourself, St. Lawrence, you spoke about Appleton. I won't ask you your favorite rink in the ECAC because I don't want to make you lie about it or give a biased answer, but I do want to, you're familiar with enough with the league that you recognize the family ties, right? And the culture of the league. I know you're a big family guy yourself. It's, one of the biggest core values that we both have, but as almost a teaser of something that we're going to get into later in the year, why do you think there's been so many family ties in the ECAC? Why is it that an NHL player will send their kids, whether it's in a Ginla or in a Coin or a St. Louis or a Niedermeyer, all those players, Brindamore, are sons or daughters of players that have played in the NHL, and then there's players in the ECAC whose parents all played in the ECAC. Why is that such a tradition? It's not normal.
No, it isn't. It's not normal at all. I really respect the question. So I'll give you an example. Randy Sexton, who's a former general manager in Ottawa, a former general manager down with the Florida Panthers, and has been in the hockey business for over 30 years. He wanted his son to go to St. Lawrence. His son went to Clarkson. Ben's an assistant coach with the Ottawa Senators now. I think there's a lot to it. I think there's the competition in the ECAC, number one, the level of the school, number two, all the schools in ECAC are tremendous. And I think the passion and the history of the buildings plays a role in it. But I think the biggest thing is just the quality of the actual education away from the ice. You're talking about Ivies, you're talking about Colgate, you're talking about St. Lawrence and Clarkson. These are phenomenal schools. RPI is a brilliant school for so many things. Union's an outstanding school. So many engineers have come out of there. So many top business people have come out of there. You go around the entire league, it's all predicated really on super high-end education. I think that plays a role in a lot of people deciding where they want to play and when they want to pursue their career as hockey players.
And speaking of families, I had the pleasure yesterday of being up at Princeton to see the women's game between Princeton and Yale, a school day game. They had 1,000 kids there. It was loud. I was grateful for my AirPods. But obviously seeing Courtney Kessel, who's part of a hockey family herself, we spoke to her earlier this year in this interview. Looking at the women's side, the growth that the league has had over the last, 5, 10 plus years, is that, you know what? Hold on. I'll pause myself. It got loud in your background, and then I saw Jimmy Murphy walk by and everything was explained. That's why the volume went up there. I saw Jimmy, so we don't even need an explanation. But back at Princeton, so obviously now this league with 6 teams in the top 20 or top 15, 10 teams in the top 20 of the MPI. What is it that the women's league in the ECAC has, especially in an Olympic year, that provides this just widespread success?
Well, I think a big part of the coaches that are in the women's side of it in ECAC, you can look at Chris Walls at St. Lawrence, you look at Mac DeRozier up at Clarkson, you go around the league. It's unbelievable just how good the coaching staffs are. Doug Darrow down at Cornell. I mean, you go around the entire league, it's really impressive, number one. Number two, Brown's always been a good program on the women's side. Yale's always been a good program on the women's side. Princeton, has always had a real good team on the women's side. So I just think it's just history, it's legacy, it's the coaching. And a lot of the young women that are coming into the league, they're coming from higher end prep schools, or they're coming from real high end programs like Shattuck St. Mary's out in Minnesota, or Northwood Prep. We just had Julie Chu on the other day. Julie was a phenomenal 4-time Olympian at Harvard, coaches at Concordia University now up in Canada. But Julie's a girl that went to Children's Rosemary Hall, and then to maintain her ability to play in the Olympics, she went to Northwood. So I think there's a flexibility there. There's an education component there. And a lot of the top women still play in the Northeast of the United States and in Eastern Canada. And so it's perfect geographically for all the schools in the ECACs.
And speaking of geographically, you mentioned the Olympics, you mentioned Northwood School. Let's shift to Lake Placid. The women's tournament going there for the championship weekend for the first time ever, and the men's obviously continuing to be there. You've had the pleasure, and we've had the pleasure of having you the last few years on our broadcasts up there. What excites you about the women's tournament going there, and what do you think is the next level of an evolution for ECAC, with the games that we have in Lake Placid?
I am so excited for the games to be there. It's phenomenal, Nick. I think that's number one. It's just an awesome environment. I think the women will love it. I think the programs will love it. The fans will love being in, obviously, Herb Brooks Arena in 1980 Arena. It's awesome. It really helps the evolution because look at how close it is to the Canadian border. A lot of, people will come down with their families to watch. The level of play, especially over the last little while, has been so tight, whether it's been St. Lawrence or Clarkson or Cornell, unbelievably tight. Even Princeton, you look at how tight a lot of these games have been amongst the women. So I think the parity is so amazingly good that it leads to fantastic playoff hockey. And then you put it into an environment like Lake Placid in the spring of the year. Doesn't get much better than that. It really doesn't.
Obviously, you've been familiar with Lake Placid. You've been there for many, many times aside from our tournament. For someone who may not be, and you don't have to be a hockey historian to know why Lake Placid is important, but for someone who may not be looking to say, I'm going to go up there and spend a weekend to watch hockey games, what else about Lake Placid and the village and the environment there makes it such a special place?
Well, I think the first thing with the village is just how great the people are there. They're polite, they're friendly, they're fan friendly. They want you to be there. They're not trying to run you out of there. The hotels are fantastic. The restaurants are off the charts. There's a nightlife if you want to pursue that as well. I think the cleanliness, the entire area near a lake is just a beautiful place to be around. I love walking around town with a coffee early in the morning and just watching the people walk around. I sit on a park bench usually right by Mirror Lake, and I just watch people walk around while I have a coffee, and I just think that's great. I love being at Herb Brooks Arena. I just think it's fantastic. And so many good memories there, both, coaching and obviously watching my son play when he was at Colgate and winning an ECAC championship there for the great Donnie Vaughn. I'll always remember that, cherish those memories. And watching Rand Pecknold bring his Quinnipiac Bobcats into there, and just the respect I have for that program and how hard they play year in and year out. It never gets old for me. I'm so grateful that you and Commissioner Christensen have asked me to be part of the broadcast. I'll do it as long as you want me to, because I just have that much fun doing it. I think Lake Placid is a magical place. I know it's called Mirror Lake, but it should be called Magical Mirror Lake. It really should be.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the coffee on the bench, because I have the same Adirondack chair in front of the bank that I go to every time I'm down there. And I told my wife about it, and she's like, what do you mean in front of a bank? And there's 2 Adirondack chairs in front of that bank, and that's the place I go every single time. So it's cool. Everyone has their place and their points of interest when they go there. And we're happy to be such great partners with Orta and Lake Placid, and they're such great partners to us. And on that note, a shameless plug, because this will air before this happens. Black Friday 8 a.m. on the internet, 10 a.m. in person. Tickets go on sale for Lake Placid for both the men's and women's championships. I've heard rumors there's people lined up outside already if you look on social media. So make sure you get your tickets for that. For both tournaments, we'd love to see everyone out there. And obviously Pierre will be there as well. Maybe enjoying some of the whiskey from the distillery that you're in. Maybe I'll make it to Lake Placid.
I don't think so, but I'll try to bring a couple bottles for you and Commissioner Christensen. No problem, Nick.
Well, much appreciated. You received the hint. That was good. Yeah, that was good. Pierre McGuire, I do want to say it's for me, it's a cool opportunity to sit here and interview you after seeing all the interviews from behind the glass and between the glass with Doc and all the great times that, my generation had growing up in hockey. So for me, it's a pleasure. I wanted to make sure I was able to say that, and we appreciate all your time as always.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you having me actually do this, Nick. Thanks a lot. I had a ton of fun doing it with you. I'm really excited for Lake Placid. Thrilled to death that the ladies are going to have a chance to be there, which is phenomenal. And you and Commissioner Christensen have done just a magnificent job with this league. I'm telling you right now, from somebody that's been in the league since 1979, to see the growth of the league under the both of you has been phenomenal. So hats off to both of you and your entire team, because everybody's been in and out of the park. Well done.
Thank you, Pierre. Our team is very good, and we've been able to do a lot of good things because of the people that we have. So only up from here. Enjoy Belfast. Enjoy the Friendship 4. Happy Thanksgiving to you and everyone watching. And we look forward to a great weekend of hockey. 46 ECAC games this weekend across the board. Thank you, Pierre.
Amazing. My pleasure, Nick. Thank you very much.